For those who grew up watching the Godfather movie franchise or just have an interest in the mob, the name Gambino is synonymous with one man, Charles Carbone, who is the boss of bosses, the head of the most powerful crime family in New York, and a force to be reckoned with. But what if I told you that there was a real-life Godfather before Don Corleone? A man whose ruthless ambition, cunning tactics, and sheer brutality made him the undisputed ruler of New York's underworld. His name was Carlo Gambino. His crime family ruled for decades, and even today his influence is felt throughout the Mafia. So who was he, and how did he become the real Godfather? Carlo Gambino was born on November 2, 1902, in the heart of Little Italy in New York City. From an early age, he showed the classic signs of a future mobster, brash, hot-tempered, and quick with his fists. At 14, he dropped out of school and joined a local gang led by a man named Frankie Yale. There, he learned the tricks of the trade, how to make money on the side, and most importantly, how to survive in the unforgiving world of organized crime. By age 20, he was arrested for his first murder, and from then on, it was clear that there was no turning back. In the early days, Gambino worked as a bouncer in various illegal gambling houses and brothels owned by the Lucchese crime family. It was here that he caught the attention of the family boss, Charles "Lucky" Luciano, who was impressed by Gambino's toughness and street smarts. This association proved pivotal in Gambino's rise to power. Under Luciano's mentorship, Gambino learned the finer points of being a mobster, mastering the art of deception, negotiation, and violence. During this time, Gambino married a woman named Catherine Genovese, who would bear him for children and stand by him through his trials and triumphs. While outwardly a devoted family man, Gambino's private life was anything but. He had numerous mistresses and fathered several children outside of wedlock, but never once did his philandering affect his brutal efficiency in the criminal underworld. By the 1930s, Gambino had established himself as a key player in the Lucchese crime family. He was promoted to captain and put in charge of a crew that specialized in hijacking shipments of liquor during the days of Prohibition. With his crew, he would set up roadblocks on highways leading into the city and intercept trucks carrying alcohol. They would then resell the confiscated liquor in secret bars and speakeasies, raking in huge profits for the family. These daring robberies brought him both wealth and notoriety, cementing his reputation as a fearless and effective mobster.
However,
Gambino's true ambitions lay in controlling the entire city's underworld, and to do so, he needed power beyond what the Lucchese family could provide. In the late 1930s, he began to make moves to form his own independent crime family. To achieve this goal, he reached out to other ambitious mobsters like Frank Castellano and Joseph Bonanno, who were also seeking autonomy from the larger families. Together, they formed a coalition that eventually came to be known as the Five Families of New York. Each family operated semi-autonomously, but under the overall guidance of a commission that kept them in check. With his newfound power, Gambino wasted no time in expanding his territory and influence. He moved into lucrative businesses like narcotics, gambling, and loan sharking, raking in massive amounts of cash that allowed him to live a lavish lifestyle. His headquarters was a luxurious mansion in an upscale neighborhood where he entertained guests in a private casino and hosted parties that went on for days. However, his success didn't come without enemies. Rival mobsters and law enforcement officials alike were constantly trying to bring him down. In 1957, Gambino and several other mobsters were indicted on charges related to a stolen truck driver's strike that had crippled the city. Although he was acquitted of the more serious charges, he was convicted of conspiracy and sent to prison for 5 years. But even behind bars, Gambino continued to run his criminal empire. He used his wife and trusted associates to maintain control of his illegal activities and wasted no time in plotting his revenge against those who had brought him down. Upon his release from prison, Gambino's enemies soon found themselves targeted by mysterious acts of violence. Sending a clear message from the boss, in the following years, Gambino's power and influence only grew. He became the go-to man for any mobster in need of assistance or protection. And when the five families met together, he was always the one who spoke for the group, establishing him as the de facto leader of the entire New York Mafia. But it wasn't just respect that he commanded. Gambino was also feared like never before. Anyone who crossed him knew they were in for trouble. One of his most famous acts of retribution came in 1962 when he ordered the murder of a former associate who had turned informant. The hit was brutal and effective, serving as a warning to anyone else who might be considering betraying the family. Throughout his reign, Gambino maintained a low profile, avoiding the flashy lifestyle of some of his contemporaries and keeping his personal life out of the public eye. This helped him to stay under the radar of law enforcement and made him all the more elusive and mysterious. Despite being the target of numerous investigations, Gambino managed to evade capture for most of his life. The authorities came close in 1978 when they wiretapped his associates and uncovered a vast array of illegal activities. But when it came time to press charges, many of the witnesses were too afraid to testify, allowing Gambino to slip through their fingers once again. It wasn't until 1986 that he was finally brought down. A massive investigation led by the FBI and the New York State Police had been underway for months, culminating in the indictment of Gambino and over 100 of his associates. The charges included murder, narcotics trafficking, and racketeering, and carried with them a potential life sentence. But by this point, Gambino was already sick. He had been diagnosed with lung cancer and was near death. Rather than face trial, he agreed to plead guilty to lesser charges and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He spent his final days running his criminal empire from behind bars, maintaining his lavish lifestyle and continuing to deal drugs and extort businesses. When he died of cancer on October 15, 1977, he left behind a legacy of fear and respect that few others could hope to match. Even today, his influence is felt throughout the Mafia. His story continues to fascinate those who are drawn to the world of organized crime. After his death, his son took over the Gambino crime family, and it still stands strong today, involved in various illegal activities across the United States. Unlike his counterpart, Don Vito Corleone, who was portrayed as a benevolent Don who occasionally dabbled in criminal activity, Carlo Gambino was purely evil. He ruthlessly expanded his criminal empire, leaving a trail of blood and fear in his wake. Yet he remains one of the most respected and revered figures in Mafia history. Some see him as a tragic figure, a man who could have achieved greatness, but chose instead to live a life of crime. Others view him simply as a monster, a man whose capacity for evil knew no bounds. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Carlo Gambino's story is one that will continue to fascinate and terrify people for generations to come. So there you have it, the untold story of the real Godfather, the one who inspired the legend of Don Corleone. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the dark world of organized crime and the man who ruled it with an iron fist. If you want to learn more about the Mafia and its many intriguing characters, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.